er stand ganz im Zeichen des solidarischen Miteinanders. Gemeinsam mit dem HSV Club hat so ein kleiner Schwert gesammelt, die zugunsten von Hanseatic Helden ausgeteilt wurden für obdachlose Menschen, damit niemand in den kalten Monaten frieren muss. Und was soll ich sagen? Hamburg hat geliefert. Hier ist das Ergebnis.
Wir sammeln hier heute Kleiderspenden mit der Unterstützung von Hanseatic Helden. Es gab jetzt eine Woche schon die Möglichkeit, Marinas Spenden abzugeben. Ich glaube, man sieht einfach so viele Leute, die heute hier sind, die Spenden abgeben. Das ist einfach mal wieder unser solidarisches Verein, die HSV-Gemeinschaft und vor allem, was die Kraft der Stadt weit über den Soar hinausgeht.
Hanseatic Helden ist eine Hilfsorganisation in Hamburg, die Sachspenden sammelt, vor allem Kleidung, Hygieneartikel, verteilen werden unter einer Position weiter, aber vor allem an Menschen in Not, die es dringend brauchen, zum Beispiel obdachlose Menschen auf den Straßen.
Der LKW hinter mir ist fast schon komplett voll und vielleicht sind sie mal extrem stolz. Es ist Selbstverständlichkeit, dass wir das unterstützen und dann nachher diese ganzen kleinen Spenden auch an Hanseatic Helden zu übergeben. Überragende Aktion, wieder toll begleitet von unseren Fans.
Das unterstreicht die gesellschaftliche Verantwortung, die der HSV auch hat. Wir verankern uns noch mehr mit den Menschen in der Stadt Hamburg, der Stadt Hamburg an sich. Wir passen aufeinander auf, nicht nur hier im Hausverkehr, sondern auch bei den Menschen in Hamburg und darüber hinaus. Deswegen bin ich sehr stolz darauf, dass wir so Aktion machen.
Also ich sag nochmal im Namen des HSV, aber eigentlich noch viel mehr im Namen von den Leuten, die auf die kleinen Spenden angewiesen sind. Vielen Dank für die riesigen Spenden, für die tollen Sachen, die gespendet wurden. Und ich glaube, wir konnten dann guten Herzens herausgehen und ein bisschen auch mehr ausrüsten haben.
Man kann gerne jederzeit bei uns vorbeikommen in der großen Straße 264 vom Dienstag bis Samstag 10 bis 20 Uhr. Dort die wir jederzeit spenden dann, insbesondere jetzt gerne die Wartung-Klasse. Diese Kooperation auch im HSV, diese Reichweite zu erhalten, ist sehr viel und dann einfach gemeinsam die beiden Vereine in der Stadt etwas Gutes zu tun.
Wir starten in die Spieltagsanalyse und schauen einmal, was an diesem Spieltag bereits als Gegnerin passiert ist. Am Freitagabend haben die Kölnerinnen mit 3:0 gegen Nürnberg gewonnen. Samstag gewinnt Bremen ebenso mit 3:0 gegen Union Berlin. Bayern München gewinnt 4:1 gegen Essen. Wolfsburg mit 2:1 gegen die TSG Hoffenheim. Alle live, jeder gegen jeder, da steht es aktuell 1:4. Montagabend dann noch Freiburg gegen Leipzig.
Die Spielleitung wird heute übernommen von Fabienne Michel, unsere Schiedsrichterin, und das ist ihr Team.
Und wir schauen uns unsere heutige Startaufstellung an. Im Tor ist wieder Larissa Heimann dabei. In der Innenverteidigung heute unser
Kommen wir zu unseren Gästen aus Frankfurt. Da steht im Tor mit der Nummer 12 Lina Altenburg, mit der Nummer 6 Lisa Setz. Lisanne Gräbe trägt die 8, mit der 10 Kapitänin Laura Freiger, die Nummer 11 Lina Lüst. Trainer ist newcomers. stehen auf dem Rücken. Annalena mit der Nummer 17, Mia. Und die Nummer 19, Vicky. Die 22 trägt Sophie. Unsere Kapitänin mit der 28, Pauline. Mit der 29, Lili. Die 32 trägt Lotta. Und die Nummer 39, Nina.
At risk of a fall from grace in the Google Pixel Frauen-Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt are out to get their season back on track. Newly promoted Hamburg provide hosting duties on Matchday 8, but they won't be in a generous mood as they're still searching for a first top-flight win on home soil in over 13 years. Frankfurt, meanwhile, haven't won on the road this season, losing all 3 away games as part of a boom or bust start to the 25-26 campaign. Something has got to give, but who can forge a path to victory over the next 90 minutes at the Volksparkstadion? James Surrogate on the mic, and as always, a pleasure to have your company on what is day 3 of 11 straight boasting Frauen-Bundesliga fixtures. Our focus today on both ends of the table in the final act of Sunday's Frauen-Bundesliga show. Hamburg against Frankfurt, the Red Shorts against the She-Eagles. Frankfurt with the chance to keep pace with the top 3. Hamburg with the chance to fashion more breathing room above the bottom 2. A wonderful atmosphere at the Volksparkstadion. Over 5,000 fans in attendance on what is a chilly Sunday afternoon in the port city. Eintracht Frankfurt, from being on the brink of breaking the Frauen-Bundesliga's duopoly to now fearing for their top 3 status. 2025 has not been a good year for Frankfurt so far. Nico Arnautis' side were title challengers at the start of the year, only to finish well off the pace. So now a look at the team sheets, and I can tell you that Hamburg head coach Lies Brankau has made 4 changes to the side that conceded a late equaliser in the 1-1 draw with Karl Zeiss Jena. Annalena Wucher is a fresh face in the back 3, while Viktoria Schulz, Hamburg's goal scorer against Jena, replaces Annalena Böhler at right back. In midfield, Maria Mikolajova and Victoria Schwalm drop to the bench to make way for Mia Bücheler and Lotte Vrede, who was recently awarded the Under-17 Fritz Walter Silver Medal, award that recognises young talent here in German football. Our referee, Fabienne Michel, backed up by Dr. Isabel Steinke and Katharina Kruse, and Dr. Reem Hussein, our 4th official. As for the visitors, Nico Arnautis looking for more consistency in his side's performances and makes just 1 change following the defeat of Werder Bremen. Elisa Zenz restored to the starting lineup in place of Geraldine Reuteler in the only change. Captain Laura Freigang still yet to open her account for the campaign, but Rebecca Blomqvist and Nicole Anyomi have been scoring freely. Anyomi was one of the heroines for Germany as they booked their ticket to the Nations League final against current world champion Spain. First leg of that final will be played at the end of the month. Anyomi, a name that many believe should have been involved in the German national team much sooner than she was under Christian Wuck. But she made the most of the recent international break. Hamburg went back to the drawing board during the 2-week hiatus. Just 1 win to their name so far this season upon their return to the Frauen-Bundesliga. And that is more due to Karl Zeiss Jena and Essen's struggles than their own successes, but after narrowly missing out on a first home win against Jena before the international break, Head coach Lies Brankow has called for Hamburg to go one better against Nicole Anyomi and co, who have been too hit and miss this season, but hit this afternoon in the Port City, and they can close the gap on the top three, miss again, and risk kissing any hopes of cracking the top two this season goodbye. Two teams in desperate need of points for very different reasons go head-to-head as Hamburg play host to Eintracht Frankfurt. The Seagulls still searching for a first away win of the season. Hamburg hoping to go one better after narrowly missing out on a first home win before the international break. The fact is, though, only one, if any, can walk away victorious, and Hamburg immediately on the front foot here, looking for an early opening. Lotte Vrede to the byline. Twisting, turning, Lotte Vrede. Shot comes in eventually. The chance is still alive here for the home side. Annalena Vuka can't quite dig out the cross with only Melanie Brunthaler to aim for. Type of positivity that Hamburg's Brazilian head coach Lies Brankow would have been calling for in the opening exchanges. Now the throw goes long. Brunthaler knocks it down, but a bit of a swing and a miss on that occasion. Frankfurt forced to go long and vertical with the outlet pass, and as a result Hamburg can turn possession over again. Nico Arnautis, the Eintracht Frankfurt head coach, called for his side to play with joy, energy and cleverness in key moments. Wants them to hurt Hamburg with their power and take all 3 points back with the financial capital. James Thorogood, your match commentator, delighted to have the pleasure of your company. The Volksparkstadion with another wonderful turnout for the visit of another side that finished in the top 3 last season. Matchday 1 pitted the Red Shorts against Wolfsburg. A rather dramatic encounter that saw Lies Brankow's side come from 3-1 down to secure a 3-3 draw in the end. Since then, on home soil, a defeat to Hoffenheim by a 4-1 scoreline, and then before the international break, that 1-1 draw with Karlsruhe Jena, where they were just minutes removed from a first home win. Fortunately, there was a late goal for Karlsruhe Jena that denied Hamburg the chance to put more space between them and the side currently in the bottom 2, along with SKS Essen. That being said, Hamburg do still have a healthy 4-point lead. Brunthaler can't quite bring the ball under her spell, under pressure from 2. Nicole Anyomi now helping keep the counter-attack going, led now by Nadine Riesen. Holds off the challenge of Lotte Vrede. Elise Zent, poor pass, picked off easily, stopping Frankfurt in their tracks. Of course, Elise Zent, a former Leverkusen player, swapped clubs in the hopes that she could go on and challenge for more titles with Eintracht Frankfurt and compete more regularly in Europe. Sense just having a chat there with her captain Laura Freigang, saying I needed you in that pivot spot for the pass I played. No one dropped into it though. They are certainly relishing the return of top flight women's football in the port city. First corner of the game for Frankfurt. Illerstedt was underneath it, and she is certainly a danger woman in those situations. Quick reset. With the ball going back to Riesen. Floated deep towards Freigang, and she was looking to recreate the Frauen-Bundesliga logo there a touch, but unable to keep it in play. It's the first ever meeting between Hamburg and Eintracht Frankfurt. Though it was Erste FFC Frankfurt, the side that fused with Eintracht back in 2020, that regularly got the better of Hamburg. Only lost one of their 22 top flight games against the Hanseatic side here in the port city. 10 wins from a possible 11. The only time they drop points, a 2-2 draw that dates back to December of 2006. Of course, Hamburg this season back in the top tier for the first time in 13 years. Vrede. Oh, such a tricky customer. Does really well to turn away from the pressure. That's a lovely ball out wide as well. In the end, it comes to nothing. Annalena Wucher again stopped in her tracks. Fabienne Michel, one of the more no-nonsense referees we've got in the Frauen-Bundesliga. Someone who's earned respect with her work on the whistle in the women's football as well as some of the lower leagues in German men's football. Riesen forced to let the ball bounce awkwardly. Nico Arnautis has seen Frankfurt struggling to come to terms with the positive start made by their hosts Hamburg. Taking the game to the She-Gulls and ultimately having the better of the play so far, Liège Brancau's side, but there have been many performances from Hamburg where they've had positive phases but ultimately fallen short over the course of 90 minutes. It is always the difficulty. And they've had some tough learning moments as well since their return to the Frauen-Bundesliga. Mistakes made at the back, mistakes made up front as well. And it was more their work in the attacking department that let them down against Kaisers Jena, because they could have put that game well beyond reach long before they even opened the scoring through Victoria Schulz. That goal came in the 78th minute for Hamburg. It was Rika Tietz who scored the equaliser in the 89th minute, but now Hamburg with this free kick. And a great delivery. Rika was ready to pounce, but it got taken away from her at the vital moment. Now Lotte Vrede trying to keep the chance alive, and that was a tough tackle, but a fair one from Riesen. Vrede keeps going. Happy to regularly dip into her bag of tricks, and now Brunthaler on the turn. Melanie Brunthaler! Angle against her, she was looking more for a cross than a shot. No teammates in tandem though. But buoyed by another Volksparkstadion, Hamburg really are looking lively. Frankfurt, meanwhile, look a little flat, as they have been all season on foreign soil. Defeats to Hoffenheim, Leverkusen and Freiburg. Their away form somewhat surprising, the She-Gulls, given the fact that they ended last season with 3 straight wins. So to start this season with 3 straight losses, not a good look. As a result, yet to put back-to-back wins together. 4 wins, 3 losses so far. Hit or miss. Looking to hit here with Mehmeti. Can't pick out Blomqvist, and Hamburg able to clear. Oh, good play from the home side. Unfortunately, the pass through. Bit of a letdown in the end. Yeah, Frankfurt. Nina Lursen trying to rally the troops here. Very competitive opening. Leni Egert. Looked like a foul throw, but Mia Bukila crowded out. Egert cuts back into trouble. Again, she's got 3 for company down there, the young left wing back, and in the end, Anyomi chipping in defensively to help deal with the danger. This is the second game on this Sunday. Frauen 4-1 win for Bayer Leverkusen, 4-2 win for Bayer Leverkusen against Karl Zeiss Jena. The side sat just below Hamburg in the standings. Currently on 2 points, Essen below them on just 1. Hamburg sat on 6th, or 6 points I should say, and still living off that first and only win of the season. 1-0 victory against Leipzig. What the result means is that Hamburg, with a positive result here against Frankfurt, whether it be a point or 3, can more bring the room between them and the bottom 2. Leverkusen's victory means even with a win here, Frankfurt can't crack the top 3, but they can move just a point of Die Werkselfen. One final game on Matchday 8 tomorrow. Freiburg at home to Leipzig. Freiburg can join Leverkusen on 16 points. Based on their superior goal difference, they should crack the top 3 with a win. It's a good 3-4 hour trip north from Frankfurt to Hamburg. 2 of the big metropolitan cities that Germany has to offer. Frankfurt has the high-rise financial buildings. Hamburg a little bit more humble, a little bit more traditional. life and soul of that city can be found in the ports. But Frankfurt aren't here just to enjoy a fischbrötchen or two. They'd much rather take 3 points back with them on this occasion. Of course, the games come thick and fast with the Englische Woche, the midweek fixtures in the Frauen-Bundesliga. This is day 3 of 11 straight with Frauen-Bundesliga matches to savour. Again worked wide by Hamburg. Bruntaler on the run, chased by Yellowvite. No one in the middle for the cross to come into right now because Bruntaler, the lone striker, has drifted. And unfortunately that was not the intended target for her pass. And as a result, the offside flag stopping the hosts in their tracks. Needed to let the ball run. In the end, Vuka takes it away from Hillebrand, and Frankfurt now look to build an attack of their own. Laura Freigang. Now Lotte Reda loses the ball but then wins it back off Anyomi. Here's Egert. The two 17-year-olds on this left wing for Hamburg really are a joy to behold. What a duo they are. Short on experience, Leni Egert and Lotte Vrede, but brimming with ambition, brimming with hunger, brimming with talent as well. Two of the Hamburg natives in the home side lineup, as Freigang now with a real moment to affect play, but in the end, not well played out by Eintracht Frankfurt and Laura Freigang, because Hamburg's back line was completely stretched there. Egert's pass forward is wayward. Just over a quarter of an hour played here at the Volksparkstadion. You can tell that Hamburg's opening gambit has given Frankfurt a little bit of pause for thought. Just reassessing how about they go breaking down their opponents. Never going to be a routine day at the office. Hamburg have proven too tough a matchup upon their return to the Frauen-Bundesliga. That result against Wolfsburg on Matchday 1 really did make everyone sit up and take notice. Here's Hillebrand. Mia Bukula just trying to turn the corner. Not a lot of real estate to work with, and Reason does well just to marshal her off the ball. Greve looking for options. Pass cuts out well by Hamburg. Lotte Vrede. She really does do a little bit of everything, Lotte Vrede, and while she's still learning on the defensive side of things, the endeavour is admirable. Winner of the silver medal at the under-17 level in the women's side of the Fritz Walter Awards. named after the legendary German international and used to recognise the best young talents in the men's and women's game. The gold medal in the under-17 department went to Luzi Zeringer, the Bayern young 17-year-old centre-back, who made her Bayern and Frauen-Bundesliga debut yesterday. Lotte Vrede, by comparison, is a mainstay in the Hamburg starting lineup. Zeringer only got a look in due to injuries. Oh, that was a good piece of goalkeeping. Lina Altenburg snuffing out the danger. She's had to step up in testing circumstances, Lina Altenburg. Stina Johannes was the undisputed #1 last season for Frankfurt. She was sold to Wolfsburg. Sophia Winkler was signed from Essen, but then promptly after announcement of that deal, Winkler tore knee ligaments, still working her way back. But now it's Frankfurt on the march. Rebecca Blomqvist can't add to the 4 goals she's already scored this season. Larissa Heidner, a big save for the young 20-year-old goalkeeper. First time everything's really broken down for Hamburg. Yellowvite with a nice bit of front foot defending, and Anyomi piercing the lines with the pass. But Blomqvist can't beat Heidner. Golden opportunity for Frankfurt to take the lead. And it is spurned by their top goal-scoring Swede. Signed from Wolfsburg. 4 goals to a name already. Nina Lursen to whip this one in. Oh, brilliant ball and a wonderful header. And it's Amanda Illerstedt once again. It's starting to become a force of habit for Eintracht Frankfurt to rely on their Swedish defender to score headers from set pieces. Make that goal number 4 in the Frauen-Bundesliga in 8 games now for the woman signed from Champions League winners Arsenal. Breakthrough for Frankfurt, not delivered by Rebecca Blomqvist, but by her fellow Swede, Amanda Illerstedt, who joins her at the top of the goal-scoring charts with 4 to her. When in doubt, Amanda Illerstedt with a corner. She only ever scored 3 goals during her time with Arsenal, which was short. But now in 13 games for Frankfurt, she's got 5 goals in all competitions, but 4 in 8 in Germany's top flight. And now the Schlegels have the wind in their wings. And another tough moment for Hamburg. For all the positivity in the opening 20 minutes, they're pegged back now. Brunthaler, nice little bit of hold-up play against the goal scorer Illerstedt, who thought about biting in there, but Brunthaler, fine footwork, and then draws the foul from Lisanne Greve. Brunthaler, one of the many players that Hamburg signed from St. Pölten, the Austrian outfit from which they also brought in their head coach Lies Brankau. And Yomi wins out in the challenge, and now the break is on again. Blomqvist, the intended target, but Greve's through ball. Cut out in the end. Brunthaler looking to get Hamburg back in this game, battling away Melanie Brunthaler. In the end, loses out. Illerstedt after goals against Essen, Leipzig, Karl Zeiss Jena. Now adds Hamburg to the list, so she's got a habit of scoring against sides that are, in all likelihood, going to be flinging throughout this season. Hamburg, the big beneficiaries of the expansion to 14 teams this season in Germany's top, from the fact third in the second tier last season. Truth be told, Hamburg, Nuremberg, Union Berlin, the three newly promoted sides, have all given a very good account of themselves in the opening stages of this season. Egert and Vrede combine again. Well, slip from Vrede at the vital moment. Might work out for Hamburg here, and Hillebrand doing really well. Cross dug out. Still alive. Just need to turn it into something, but they get a corner for their efforts here, Hamburg. Here the goal again. The party piece for Amanda Illerstedt. Truth be told, while there was pressure around her, no one really rose to challenge for 1-0 Frankfurt. They've hit the mark in front of goal, even if they haven't quite hit the mark in terms of performance levels yet, but they rode the early Hamburg storm and now have a lead to work with. Corner dealt with by Illerstedt. Breda. She was the big reinforcement at the back for Frankfurt. Brunthaler. Vrede. Svea Stolt lining a shot up. Now she has a knack of scoring. Frankfurt would be wise not to let her be as unimpeded moving forward, but Jelevite did well just to get a deflection. Now need to turn this sustained pressure into a goal and an equaliser. Svea Stolt, the corner taker, having won it. Good delivery. Brunthaler loses out in the air. Stolt wants it back but doesn't get it from Egert, and the break on the counter might be on for Frankfurt if Hamburg aren't careful, but a vital header there, just curtailing it momentarily. Well, that was a good clearance. Down on this near touchline. Aruleta Mehmeti facing away from goal. Reason. Nice little pass from Hamburg. They've got to use these moments in transition with Brunthaler, with Hillebrand, trying to exploit their pace. Sign from St. Pölten. Brunthaler 2 goals to a name, Hillebrand with 1. Oh, cheeky play. Brunthaler waits in the middle for the cross, and it is blocked behind. Nina Lewison recovering on the half-hour mark. But appreciate that from Annalena Wucher, though. Talked about relishing a new sporting challenge when she was brought in from First Vienna FC, another team where Hamburg did a lot of their business in the summer, but a good bit of business done, and is serving them well in the top flight. And now they pack out that back post. Can they make life very difficult for Lina Altenburg? They've conceded from a corner, and now they can score from a corner. Oh, what? Hillebrand, the right play, ricochet back from Rebecca Blomqvist, and Lina Altenburg will be mightily relieved that Hillebrand didn't get a toe to the ball. Sharp. That was the chance that Hamburg have been waiting for. And again, if you take the scoreline out of proceedings right now and you looked at those statistics, speak of a very evenly matched game. Hamburg's challenges won percentage of over 60% is very impressive and will serve them very well moving forward if they do want to get back into this game. They need a shot on target, though. That's the keeping 0 on that stat sheet. Here's Riese, long over there. Head of. Now she finds Greve. Long shot never lies. Back to Mehmeti it goes. Blitz the 2 Hamburg defenders unsuccessfully, and Brunthaler is there, scrapping away with every little bit of service she's provided. To a in midfielder now, and Yomi taken down. What a handball given against Nicole Anyomi. I'm not sure that's what she was expecting when the referee's whistle was blown. And Victoria Schultz caught wrong side. That has penalty written all over it. Not a single touch of the ball, a big clip of the heels, Anyomi drawing the contact, and probably should have been with a spot kick as well. Fabienne Michel felt it was not enough. But again, this is clumsy, naive defending, and that's going to happen this season from Hamburg. Lucky to get away unpunished on that occasion. Victoria Schultz, goal scorer the opening goal scorer here at the Volksparkstadion against Karl Zeiss Jena. Almost a dangerous possession there from Frankfurt. Hamburg do win it back eventually. Space out wide. Lotte Vrede goes it alone, and fingertip save from Altenburg. Whether it was needed or not, she wasn't taking any chances. Vrede, who scored the goal that provided Hamburg with their only win of the season so far against Leipzig at Kotterweg. She will not be on the Hamburg books for long. I think that's a fairly reasonable prediction to make. Good corner, attacked well. Can they still make something of it here? To the next, seemingly, in the melee. Stolt forced to let the ball bounce, and then that was rather unceremonious from Nina Lursen. Stolt just stood her ground. Again, here come Hamburg, not deterred by conceding the opener. Their performance levels, their drive, courage, confidence on the ball hasn't changed. Vrede exemplifying it, and now Brunthaler with the snapshot, but she slipped right as she looked to get the shot off. Here we see the penalty call again, and tight one, difficult to tell whether Anjomi was onside. It's a matter of inches, but I tell you what, she's got the pace to beat Victoria Schulz, and for me she really should have got the penalty. She did everything right, Schulz did everything wrong. Somehow, despite finding herself goal side of her marker and getting taken down, Anjomi didn't get any rewards for her efforts. Instead, she was penalised for handball in the aftermath of all things. Frankfurt will be hoping that doesn't have a bearing on proceedings, but it might be a moment we look back on if Hamburg are able to find a leveller. Preferably, from their perspective, before half-time. And in many ways, you couldn't really argue against the fact that they deserve a goal here, the hosts so far. No golf in quality, no golf in class. Brunthaler, there's a lot to like about what she brings to the table for Hamburg. She does a lot of hard work with very little to show for it at the end of the day. But if she wasn't putting in the effort levels that she does up front, then Hamburg would have fared even worse than they have so far this season. It's a big part of their game plan. Teasing ball forward. Blomqvist and Anjomi trying to defend from the front now. Loose touch from Riesen. Lets in Bücheler. Oh, lovely play by Bücheler. And lovely combination with Vrede. Delightful from Hamburg. And the Eisbrand Cow, the Hamburg head coach, has pointed out on many an occasion, we shouldn't forget that this is the first taste of Frauen-Bundesliga action for many of these Hamburg players, but you really wouldn't know it when you watch many of their performances. Yes, okay, fine. Victoria Schultz, that one moment in the penalty yes or no decision with Nicole Agnomi, a little bit naive in the defending. But outside of that, they really are giving Frankfurt a decent run for their money here. And this ball will run to Hillebrand. Frankfurt's back line have gone to sleep. Hillebrand, she's only got Brunthaler in the middle, and it was intricate but inaccurate. I do not know why Hillebrand wasn't more proactive there in taking a touch towards goal and having an effort herself. The game will not open up that way that often for Hamburg this afternoon. And they can't afford to be wasteful in those moments like Hillebrand was there. Had every right to be selfish. She was the only one alert to the danger and the opportunity. Klever goes back to yellow fight. No, they don't like the football. Not pumped up enough, that particular one, here at the Volkspark Stadion. Liège Brand-Kausch will be able to point to a lot of positives. She's talked about the fact that she believes this Hamburg side can surprise any and every opponent. And while she said that the attendance today, which is over 5,000 based on pre-match ticket sales, she said that was a great turnout once again. Highlighted how important the support is for her Hamburg side, but also underlined the fact that she believes that there's the potential for even greater things in the port city. Believes this is just a start. Oh, it bounces awkwardly, and Hamburg have to be wary of moments like that. Pass asking a little too much of Nina Lursen. Blomqvist was ready to pounce on the through ball, but it never made its way through to her. And when Leni Egert, the left wing back here on the ball for Hamburg, although she again lets it bounce, and it's the third or fourth time now that Hamburg players have, instead of getting a touch on the ball when it's falling out of the sky, have decided just to let it bounce and then found themselves in some problematic predicaments as a result when not necessary. Oh, poor outlet pass, Freigang. Telegraphed the intentions there. The pass behind Agnomi from Klever, and now look at the space for Hamburg to break. They're not exactly overcommitting in terms of numbers. Hillebrand, first time pass to Brunthaler, not the right idea on that occasion. hearing that there's going to be 1 minute of time added on at the end of the first half. Frankfurt, with the goal lead, will of course be the happier side, but with the exception of the Amanda Illerstedt effort, you'd have to say that Hamburg would have been more deserving of an opening goal here. Something to cheer about so far. A chance today to secure back-to-back wins for the first time this season. So we've got confirmation of that. Is there a last chance in this first half for Hamburg? Brunthaler, crunching 50-50, taken out by Greve. I mean, the ball was there to be won. It looked, I think, a little worse than it probably was, but that was a cruncher. And the final action of this first half will be a free kick to Hamburg. Greve will maybe argue that it's tough to be penalised there because she did well to get. But she really did take out Brunthaler at the same time. Well, lest we forget, it was a late free kick that resulted in an equaliser against Wolfsburg on Matchday 1. That was at the end of the second half, though. Slightly different circumstances, but what can Svea Stolt conjure up? Flicked on, but no danger from the Nina Reker header. And that will be the final action of what has been a very competitive first half. Volkspark Stadion. The A's first home win of the season. Frankfurt looking for a first away win of the season. But Hamburg have been the better side. It's Frankfurt who lead. Amanda Illerstedt with her 4th goal of the campaign. The party piece, a header from a corner. And that's what separates the sides in the Port City. It is Hamburg. Frankfurt 1 at the break.
Konsequent dann eben nur Blomqvist nicht im Abschluss, die eine tolle Saison bislang spielt.
wie schon gegen Wolfsburg sind wir richtig gut im Spiel, liegen trotzdem mit 0:1 zurück, aber da ist alles noch drin, wie wir uns hier durchkombinieren. Ich glaube, wir sind die spielbestimmte Mannschaft, uns fehlt nur das Tor. Wir wollen uns einfach die Highlights anschauen in der ersten Halbzeit. Und zwar in der 20. Minute lag es nach Heidner. Unsere Nummer 8, den 28er Frankfurter, den Newcomers, läuft alleine auf Heidner zu, die packt die Kranke aus und klaviert. Die anschließende Ecke dann aber verwandelt von der Nummer 13. Ihr ist den trifft per Kopf.
So, und wir haben aber nicht aufgesteckt, sondern weitergemacht. Es geht weiter in der 72. Spielminute. Da springen wir einmal rein. Ecke von der Seite. Dann landet der Ball vor den Füßen von Spielmann und kriegt leider zu wenig Druck dahinter. Das hätte sonst noch ganz anders ausgehen können. Und wir rufen noch einmal in die 40. Spielminute ein. Ganz, ganz feines Füßchen hier von Lothar Brehne. Einmal von der linken Seite rüber auf die rechte Seite. Durch die Innenverteidigung durch. Ebenfalls auf den Rand. Dann aber spitzer Winkel. Leider keine Abwehr. Aber, ey, Leute, das Spiel ist geil. Wir haben richtig was drauf. Wir haben richtig Chancen. Ich bin total begeistert. Holen wir gleich noch eine Stimme ab von einer verletzten Spielerin und dann gehen wir in die zweite Halbzeit.
They say the ball is rolling down. This town forced its faith. The colors will fade. But then choose. For time is running out. Day after day, we make them one day. But that's the peace.
So, und bei mir jetzt hier in der Halbzeit. Jacqueline Dürges, Jaco, hi, wie geht's? Ganz gut. Sehr stark. Jaco, wir haben jetzt 45 Minuten hinter uns gebracht. In meiner Sicht ein richtig gutes Spiel, schön und richtig mutig von unseren Frauen. Wie siehst du die erste Halbzeit?
Ich finde auf jeden Fall, dass wir gelernt haben, dass wir in Zweikämpfe angenommen haben, dass wir auch gut den Fußball spielen und dadurch halt auch unsere Chancen kreieren. Und ja, also ich finde, wir brauchen uns auf jeden Fall nicht versteckt.
Das sehe ich genauso. Ein kleines bisschen unwechsam gewesen bei der Ecke, steht es natürlich 0:1. Das ist die Qualität des Gegners. Jaco, jetzt zu dir, du stehst hier mit zwei Hilfsbeinen. Nimm uns mal bitte mit, wie ist im Alltag entstanden? Wie geht's dir? Was läuft der Vorschritt?
Ja, die OP habe ich nicht überstanden. Ich bin jetzt seit knapp 2 Wochen in der Reha, habe täglich Physio, kann auch schon 1, 2 Übungen machen und ab nächste Woche darf ich dann auch wieder ein bisschen Zeit gelassen. Der Fuß macht sich gut. Ja,
Du sagst schon das Stichwort. Es sind wieder viele, viele Kinder hier im Stadion. Viele Mädchen, die haben jetzt angefangen mit dem Fußballspielen und die sagen, ich möchte auch mal Profi werden. Aber du lebst aktuell diesen Traum vieler Mädchen. Hast du den einen oder anderen Tipp für die Mädels, die mit dem Fußballspielen anfangen, für die Reise der Fußballerin?
Ja, auf jeden Fall nie den Spaß zu verlieren und immer dran zu bleiben, dem Traum zu folgen und dann schaffen wir es hoffentlich.
Sehr gut. Mit diesem Spirit gehen wir jetzt gleich an die zweite Halbzeit. Es gibt noch Infos aus Köln, die Männerspiele zeitgleich haben. Hast du noch irgendwelche Infos für uns?
Ja, André, ich liefere die Infos. Wir liegen aktuell zurück. Köln führt mit 1:0. Aber aufgrund des Parallelspiels wollen wir einmal reinrennen. Das war zwar nett, aber ich gebe an meine Kollegen Philipp Langer und Daniel Köhler.
Ich fand die mit der eigenen Hälfte sehr zentral. Köln spielt halt eben auch gut. 5-4-1. Und dann immer wieder versucht auf nacheinander zu stoßen. Ja, das so.
Und ich kriege jetzt die Info, dass wir im Vollfahrtstadion jetzt auch zuhören sind in der Halbzeitpause der HSV Frauen-Verein. Die Grüße hier aus dem Rhein-Energiestadion ins Vollfahrtstadion. Der HSV vor ungefähr 5 Minuten leider in Rückstand geraten. Ausrutscher von Sabine Konga im Aufbauspiel und dann laufen die Kölner 3-0 gegen Heuer Fernandes. HSV-Spieler werfen sich noch dazwischen und können den ersten Abschluss bekommen. Heuer Fernandes kann auch noch den zweiten Abschluss halten und dann aber kuppelt der Ball vor der Torlinie entlang und dann schiebt ihn Achel letztlich rein. Und erzielt er so das 1:0 für den FC Köln. Bis dahin komplett ausgeglichene Partie gewesen und ganz wenig Tor. Szenen auf beiden Seiten. Viel Ballbesitz in den Passstaffetten, aber beide Ketten hinten wach gewesen. Und dort alles wegverteidigt und dann bringt der HSV sich da selber in die Schwierigkeiten und ist somit jetzt in jedem Fall gefordert, hier auch auf die Anzeigetafel zu kommen. Ball jetzt in der
Hello and welcome back to the Volksparkstadion, where we are being treated to a wonderful atmosphere on this Sunday afternoon, and that's even though the home fans haven't had a lot to cheer about in the first half. Their side trailing by a goal to nil. Amanda Illerstedt, not Rebecca Blomqvist. She's the Swede on the score sheet so far. Both top the Frankfurt goal scoring charts with 4 goals apiece, which for Blomqvist, a forward, not so surprising. The fact that Amanda Illerstedt has scored 4 in 8 league games since signing from Arsenal really is an eye-catching return. And it's her goal that separates the sides, though Hamburg had a lot to be pleased about when it came to their first half performance. If Hamburg can maintain performance levels, there might be a point or more in this for them. If Frankfurt are as flat as they were in the first half, the door will remain open. James Thorogood, your match commentator. Delighted to have the pleasure of your company. This, the final act on Sunday in Germany's top flight. A wonderful weekend of action so far that's had a little bit of everything. Köln big winners on Friday night. Werder Bremen, Bayern and Wolfsburg with a late winner against Hoffenheim, emerging victorious yesterday. First away win of the weekend, delivered courtesy of Leverkusen's 4-2 victory in Jena, and now Frankfurt are hoping to follow suit here, given the fact that they have suffered 3 losses from 3 on foreign soil this season. A first win on the road would go a long way to getting their campaign back on track. Mia Bücheler with the free kick. Reker is underneath it again. Comes to Lotte Vrede. Looking for the pass to Egerts, and she tried to play it inside of Anyomi, but Anyomi does well just to shield the ball out of play with the pressure applied by Schultz, who got clipped in the mix. Yep, the little whip of the hand at the end there from Nicole Anyomi, but certainly nothing intentional, nothing untoward, and should be something that Schultz can pick herself up from. Well, they've been in fine voice all afternoon, the Hamburg fans, over 5,000 in attendance. And to be honest, having a look at some of the numbers, we might even be closing in on a 5-figure attendance. This ground, at the very least, an enrichment for the Frauen-Bundesliga. Truth be told, Hamburg's return after 13 years is as well. Anyomi does well to win out against Vrede. She scored the opening goal of the 2-2 draw between France and Germany, or at least the opening goal from Germany's perspective. It was an equaliser in the 12th minute. No chances so far for Anyomi, though she will argue she should have won a penalty in the first half after getting wrong side of Victoria Schultz, the two that have already scored at the start of this second half at the other end of the pitch. Anyomi did well, released in behind, got wrong side of her marker, and then when it looked like she was about to get the shot off, had her heels clipped, was bundled over, and Fabiana Michel, the referee, decided it was not enough for a spot kick. Headed away at the near post. No break on for those in blue, black and white today. Nicknamed the Red Shorts, Hamburg, but they don't always wear them. Look at some of the Frankfurt substitutes. Certainly a few bigger names on the bench than Hamburg could ever hope to boast. Germany internationals at senior and youth level. reason calls for the header and wins it. Now Mehmeti. We haven't seen much from the Kosovan this afternoon, which is credit to Hamburg's defensive work. She is a very tricky customer. Someone that doesn't need many opportunities to make the desired impact on a game of football. And call from the bench. Lisa Zentz has her boot off. My goodness, look at the strapping that these players have nowadays. Again, she just has a word with the referee there, letting her know, so clearly something has happened. I don't think she's just looking for a change of boots. Or is she? Well, one of those where Elisa Zentz will perhaps be one of the only people that can actually clear up what then. Wasn't an injury, or was it really just the fact that she needed to change her attire? No, there's something wrong with that foot. There's a reason she's taken the boot off. There's a reason she's consulting the physios. Right now, Frankfurt a woman down with Elisa Zentz. The only change in their starting lineup this afternoon off the pitch. She came in for Geraldine Reuteler. She's back out on the pitch now, or about to be. Reuteler, of course, would be the obvious replacement if she can't continue. That's nice play. Anyomi and Graver, and now Freigang has a bit of freedom to work with. Laura Freigang wanted to cut inside, but the angle's shut down. Was one of the big questions surrounding Eintracht Frankfurt coming into the season. What version of Laura Freigang would we get? Because in the previous campaign she scored 10 goals in the Hinrunde. She really hit the ground running. Prolific form from the Frankfurt captain. But then in the second half of the season she was not able to match that output. Just 4 goals compared to the 10 scored in the first half of the season. As a result, she was caught up by Nicole Anyomi, who joined her on 14 goals by the end of the campaign. And right now, still yet to score a league goal this season, Laura Freigang. Not too problematic for Frankfurt when Blomqvist, Anyomi and Amanda Illerstedt have all been scoring at the rate they have been. But there have been big moments where Freigang has missed big chances. It's not the confidence of her side, it's also cost them points at times. Has got a goal in the Europa Cup this season. Frankfurt having beaten Slovačko after qualifying by Real Madrid and missing out on a league phase berth. They now are set to face Dutch outfit PSV Eindhoven in the round of 16. The first leg taking place later this month as Anyomi this time does win the penalty. She got wrong side of Schultz in the first half. She got wrong side of Vuka here. Didn't get the penalty before the break, but this time Fabiana Michel points to the spot. This time Anyomi gets the just rewards, and this time there was no doubt about it. Terrible defending from Vuka. Terrible decision. She would have been hoping perhaps that it would have been deemed a free kick, but Anyomi's pace took her into the box, and now Elisa Zentz will have the chance to score from the spot. Three goals already to her name in the current campaign, Elisa Zentz. All come courtesy of penalties. 2 against Karzai Siena in a 3-1 win, 1 against Slovačko in a 4-0 win. Here to make it 2-0 to Frankfurt and stifle another positive start to a half from Hamburg. It is Elisa Zentz up against Larissa Heidner. Stutter step and Zentz sends Heidner the wrong way. Cool, calm, collected from the spot. Frankfurt double their advantage on a night that they're looking to close the gap on the top three and secure back-to-back wins for the first time this season. They now have daylight to work with at the Volksparkstadion. She's becoming a bit of a penalty specialist this season, Elisa Zenz. 4 from 4. Now 3 goals in the Frauen-Bundesliga for Frankfurt last season for Elisa Zenz, 3 goals in the current campaign, and we're only at the beginning of November. A woman whose second job in the past used to be a nurse, and she has talked about going back into that profession after her playing career. Right now it's Liège Brancal's side that need a little bit of attention. Another bruising outing in the Frauen-Bundesliga where they can point to so many positives, but they've got nothing to show for it on the scoreline. And unfortunately, while that might serve them well against smaller clubs, they will struggle against teams like Frankfurt to actually get their just rewards. Where they lack in quality compared to teams like Frankfurt, they try to make up for it with hard work, with endeavour, with a work rate that Brancal is certainly very proud of. Life in the top tier isn't quite as straightforward as put in the work and get the rewards, though. Nico Arnautis knows that. His side have experienced that at the start of this season, but right now they are now firmly on course for their first away win and first away points of the campaign. And it might get worse here for Hamburg. Rebecca Blomqvist. Oof, dear me. Well, they can be forgiven moments like that when they're 2-0 up. Certainly won't want to watch the replays back of that, though, the Swedish striker. 21 goals in 92 appearances for Wolfsburg, 4 in 11 so far as a Frankfurt player. Someone that has really added to the attacking quality for Nico Arnautis' side. They had a lot of it already, truth be told. And Mehmeti loses out against a younger counterpart, Lotte Vrede, who then finds a nice ball. Nothing made of it, though, by Paulina Martens. Mehmeti, Blomqvist on the run. And Yomi in the middle, waits. Cross perhaps came a touch too early there. Bruntaler, not for the first time in this afternoon, coming off second best in a challenge. Amanda Illerstedt, the guilty part. So we see a change being readied as we approach the hour mark here at the Volksparkstadion. Nikolayova ready to enter the fray. Bruntaler won't want to be forced off, but she might be. She can't find free movement again. Zenz. Can't pick out Blomqvist. The pass made life difficult for the Swede on that occasion. Right now, Frankfurt are sitting very pretty here. No, they haven't been at their best, but they've had to ride out the positive play from Hamburg. They've had to survive a few scares at the back, though Lina Altenburg still hasn't really had to make a save. And when they've had their chances, they've taken them. 2 set pieces, 1 penalty, 1 corner, 2 goals. And sometimes it can be that straightforward when you're struggling from open play. Not just in terms of chance conversion, but chance creation has been quite surprising that Frankfurt have struggled the way they have today. Credit to Hamburg's defensive discipline, but there have been moments where Frankfurt could have really flexed their muscles going forward, and they just haven't. Wayward passes, bad decisions. But they have a firm grip now on the game, Frankfurt, and Hamburg's confidence has really been knocked. Oh, risky touch from Riesen. Goes back to Altenburg. Into the handball, Bruntaler though finding Hillebrand. And Hillebrand's close to winning out a second 50-50. Instead it's Stolt, now finding Egert. Martens wants it in field but doesn't get it. Blomqvist wants to take the free kick quickly. Not able to. You can still see the sense of urgency for Frankfurt here. And 2025 has not been the best year for Eintracht Frankfurt. Their form in the second half of last season tailed off. Now Anyomi. Not to be hypercritical, but she has to get that pass on point. Quite poor. Complacent in selling it short. Put the pace on that pass that's needed, and Blomqvist, all she has to do is hold her foot in the right position and it's a tap-in. Credit to Reker for recovering, but still, I'd almost lay the blame at the feet of Anyomi for not doing better in that situation. It's good delivery from Mehmeti, and Illerstedt is there again, unable to bag her brace. But there is a reason where she is one of the chief targets for every dead ball situation that Frankfurt have. And now a substitution that has been long in the making. We saw Mikulayova stripped off and ready to come on a good few minutes ago. Mia Büchler is the one that makes way. Miklajova, another of the players signed from Austrian side St. Pölten, brought in by Liège Brankow, who clearly wanted to bring the core of that team as best she could with her to the port city. Something that certainly served them well, because while there were a lot of new faces on the Hamburg books, at least the likes of Hillebrand, Brunthaler, Miklajova were all familiar with each other's talents. Laura Ziege, the goalkeeper, also brought in, but unfortunately she has suffered the third ligament tear of her career. Lotte Vrede, not quite as eye-catching as she was in the first half, but then she hasn't been afforded the moments in the second the way she was. Here you go, see the fancy footwork, just to keep Illerstedt guessing. Illerstedt, a very experienced defender who has been there and seen it all. Riese did her best not to get a touch on the ball, but in the Fabienne Michel. A goal back for Hamburg could make life interesting. Oh, Altenburg flapped at that. Gets away with it though. Wucher made life difficult for Hillebrand with the pass. Throw in forced backwards. Hamburg trying to advance their lines unfairly. And they've got to do everything they can to try and get a goal back. There were 2 goals down here at the Volksparkstadion on match day 1, and somehow managed to find 2 late goals against Wolfsburg. So don't rule anything out. Liège Brankow Reading more changes as well. Christine Meyer and Victoria Baum coming on, and for Melanie Brunthaler and strike Sophie Hillebrand. You do just go back to that moment in the first half when they broke together and Hillebrand wasted the opportunity to really make something of it for Hamburg. A rare moment on with the, and now you can see action in the dugout in response to the changes being made by the side. Haley Rasso and Delara Achikas getting ready to come on. Brunthaler just trying to G up the home crowd a little bit more. Have had a lot less to cheer about in this half, and now they might get Laura Freigang. She's in behind. Laura Freigang looking for her first goal of the season. The Frauen-Bundesliga finally gets it as she makes it 3-0 to Frankfurt, and it puts this game at the Volksparkstadion beyond reach. For all their positivity, Hamburg have nothing to show for it, and Frankfurt are cruising to all 3 points, their first on foreign soil of the season. And it's their captain who has stepped up and finally gets her first goal of the campaign. Match day 8. Be a fair amount of relief in the mix there for Laura Freigang. Tidy finish in the end. And Frankfurt flying high on foreign soil for the first time this season. Tough on Hamburg. You are certainly not thinking of a scoreline that looks as convincing as this. The game's coming thick and fast. Nico Arnautis now will take the opportunity to rest a few legs, I'm sure. Rasso and Achiger's ready to come on. The question is for who? Hearing that it is going to be Eroletta Mehmeti and Rebecca Blomqvist that make way for the Sheagles. So this might be Blomqvist's last action of this game. What can she produce? Looking for Anyomi. Oh, it's a brilliant cross, and Anyomi didn't commit. I mean, where's the flying leg, the flying diving header, whatever it takes to get a touch on that ball, because it was begging to be converted. And that is Blomqvist's last involvement, and it's Elida, not Dilara Achiger's, coming on for Eintracht Frankfurt. I mean, how close was Anyomi to this? Okay, fair enough, she wasn't as close as she needed to be, but still, if I'm Nico Arnautis, I want to see her doing everything she can to at least try and get the touch instead of just accepting fate and giving up on it. Reka with an important header at the back. Now, Hamburg would certainly be deserving of a goal here, though their attacking output has certainly dried up significantly in the second half. In part down to a very improved performance from Frankfurt after the break. And yet, still, Hamburg have had more shots this afternoon than Frankfurt have. But while with their 8 efforts, Lena Altenburg has been relatively untested, Frankfurt with their 5 have scored 3 times. And that will be a difficulty for Hamburg. Their goalkeeper department does lack quality, and it has not been helped by the knee ligament tear suffered by Laura Ziga. Then again, these are the games that won't define Hamburg's fate this season. Points picked up against the likes of Frankfurt or Wolfsburg, as they did on Matchday 1, will be bonus points come the end of the campaign. Eger just misjudging the flight of the ball there. And for Hamburg, it's games against the likes of Köln, Union Berlin, Nuremberg, Leipzig, Jena and Essen that ultimately will determine whether they survive on their return to the top flight. Freigang putting this game beyond reach with her first of the season. Frankfurt pushing for more. Top goal scorers in the Frauen-Bundesliga last season. Lewison's free kick. Punch cleared by Heidner. Zenz with an improvised effort that goes nowhere near the target. That's the record for Matchday 8 in terms of attendance figures, according to the stadium announcer. Just over 6,000 in attendance here at the Volksparkstadion. Another magnificent turnout, and again, proof in the pudding that the popularity of the women's game in Germany as a whole, but especially in the port city, certainly is on the rise. These Hamburg players, these Hamburg women getting the recognition they so richly deserve. If they can avoid an immediate return to the second tier, then it will serve them really well in terms of progressing the project that they have embarked upon. Sporting director at the club, Marcel Jan, who talked about mistakes in strategy in letting the women's team become deprioritized, especially during the COVID times, but now has been firmly and fully reinstated. And again, in the 8 matches we've seen from Hamburg so far in the current campaign, I'll tell you what, plenty more entertainment value, much more competitiveness than we ever saw from Turbine Potsdam, who finished bottom of the table with just a single point from 22 match days last season. Of course, a very low bar set, but it's still worth pointing out. The idea behind the 14-team expansion in the Frauen-Bundesliga was to make it more competitive. It was to give teams like Hamburg the chance to start trying to dip their toe in top-tier life. And those that made the decision to expand the league must be mightily happy with what they've seen so far. And again, Hamburg leading in certain departments, statistical departments, and yet it's Eintracht Frankfurt who look like they're walking away with a convincing 3-0 win that I want to argue was anything but. The difficulty is that Hamburg have never really truly threatened Lena Altenburg. And then at the same time, Frankfurt were a little bit flat at the beginning, but were they even really at their best in scoring 3? I don't think they hit the peak of their powers today. Now, poor pass, looking to return the ball to Vrede from Victoria Schwalm. Yellow card for Branja. Her first of the season. Almost got the touch on the ball she needed, but certainly the follow-through on Mikulayova was a little nasty. Momentum playing a part in it, of course. More changes at the ready for Frankfurt, but here come Hamburg. Oh, Mikulayova, she had much more on there. Wonderful run to her right being made, and selfish in going for goal. And a bit like Brunthaler early in this game when she was trying to get the snapshot off, a slip at the vital moment. One of those afternoons where the little fine margins that Hamburg needed to go their way just haven't really. A slip there from Freigang as well in the build-up, to that shot from Mikulayova. Freigang seems to have hurt herself, and maybe a change in thought for these substitutions. For now, though, Pia-Sophie Volter will come on for Nina Lursen, and it's going to be Nicola Nyomi coming off for Romina Chiba. Freigang will fight on for now, and Nyomi, a key player today, even without a goal. 1 penalty denied in the first half, 1 penalty awarded in the second. can see the game has opened up a little bit now with Frankfurt leading by 3-0. There's a lot more space in the middle of the park between the respective lines. Now Haley Rasso doesn't get the corner that she thought she'd won. And you can see why, based on that replay. Substitutes now disrupting the rhythm of this second half. Lotte Vrede, fresh from her Fritz Walter silver medal win, is replaced by Anneleen Pöhler. Meanwhile, Paulina Martens makes way as well. Almudena Sierra, the young Frenchwoman, on. As Heidner does well, just a snuff opportunity that was looming large there for the visitors. Hamburg will have to continue waiting for their first home win upon their return to Germany's top flight, though their next game against Nuremberg might afford them that opportunity that they didn't take against Karsai Siena. Reason. She's swapped to the left back role now, following the introduction of Pia-Sophie Volter off the bench. Look at the upcoming games for Hamburg, and that one against Nuremberg does stand out as an opportunity to put another 3 points on the board. Not to be the case today, as Chiba now finds Reason. Back to Lisanne Greve. Greve lines one up. Oh, dear me. Larissa Heidner will not want to watch that one back, and for good reason. On a night where she's barely put a foot wrong, that was a massive misstep. And as a result, Frankfurt make it 4-0. Greve, the goal scorer, with a big helping hand from the young 20-year-old Austrian keeper Larissa Heidner. Life is never easy in the top tier, and this is not the first goalkeeping mistake that has haunted Hamburg. The good for them is that this one certainly not as costly as some of the others, but at 3-0 down at the top level, you cannot for a second afford to take off the ball the way Heidner did there. Lessons that have to be learned, but Hamburg would prefer not to learn them if they could avoid them. Noemi Evelge, fresh from celebrating her 19th birthday, brought off the bench for Greve. Greve's final touch was a goal-scoring one. Not a bad way to sign off on this Sunday afternoon. Her first goal of the season as well. She only scored once in the previous campaign against Werder Bremen in the Frauen-Bundesliga at least. now has matched her output, with plenty of games to beat it. It was a nasty fall for Elida Achigers, and that's why there was a bit of concern amongst her Frankfurt teammates, I reckon, in quickly getting over to her and picking her up off the ground, given the fact that she is, along with her sister, only recently back from a knee ligament tear. Elida made her return in May. Dilara made her return in July. Very talented twins, 21 years old each. Dilara often talks about the fact that both of them annoyed their parents incessantly about wanting to play football when they were growing up. For good reason, given the fact that they are making their mark with Frankfurt right now. Now the concern switches to Viktoria Schwalm. The fact that there was nothing really in that replay to suggest she should have been injured is what makes this more concerning when it comes to the fact that she's gone down clutching her knee, and that reaction. Unfortunately, these are sights we're now seeing really regularly in women's football. You just hope that it's not as serious as it looks, or as serious as we know it can be. Here a look at the upcoming games for Eintracht Frankfurt. The thing to note about here, that game against Nuremberg, Matchday 11, has actually been knocked back due to their Europa Cup involvement against PSV Eindhoven. That is the sight you just don't want to see. Our thoughts go out to Viktoria Schwalm, signed in the summer from Turbine Potsdam. Unfortunately, that has knee ligament tear written all over it. God, just sends a shiver down the spine, a pit feeling in your gut, doesn't it? The home fans trying to get behind Schwalm. We could hear them just chanting on the sidelines, but I'm not sure those cheers will be heard. For now, Zentz floats one in. Illerstedt was closest to it, score of the first goal. Rasso now looking for her first Frankfurt goal. Sends that effort wide, wants a corner, and gets it. And there the stadium announced, geeing up the home crowd to provide a bit of support to Schwalm. Now for Hamburg, you're looking back at these replays, and one of those days where it's just a tough one at the office in the top flight was always going to happen for the newly promoted side. Rasso again, wide with the shot. But again, I will point out that the 4-0 scoreline does feel harsh on the home side. Gave a good account of themselves. A very energetic and engaging opening. But Frankfurt found the finishing touches that Hamburg couldn't. They might get a chance here with Schreier Stolt. That's a lovely cross, and Altenburg made a bit of a meal of it. Hasn't had a lot to do in this second half, though. Lovely shape on this cross, though, from Schreier Stolt. She's got a wonderful technique when it comes to her deliveries, whether it be from dead ball situations or open play. Another of the Hamburg natives made her debut at the club at the age of 16, and at 19 years old she's a mainstay in the starting lineup and already has over 100 appearances to her name for the club. Four minutes added on at the end of the 91 for each goal scored. It's always nice when those types of things match up, isn't it? For Hamburg, they will remain 4 points above the bottom two of Kaiserslautern and Essen. Leipzig, who are in action tomorrow night against Freiburg, will have a chance to move clear of Hamburg and the bottom two themselves. For Frankfurt, this means that they move up into 4th place for the time being, just a point behind 3rd place Leverkusen. That can still change, because if Freiburg beat Leipzig on home soil tomorrow, then Freiburg would move into 3rd place themselves based on their superior goal difference compared to Leverkusen. It would mean Frankfurt would finish the weekend in 5th, but at least they'd just be a point off the pace when it came to the top three. Offside flag, denying Frankfurt the chance of the 5th. Yova loses out on the byline. Of course, worth pointing out, Hamburg having to play with a woman less now due to the injury to Victoria Schwalm, because they had used up all their substitutes. There was no one able to be brought on following the injury to Schwalm. Again, not that it will have much bearing on the end of proceedings here. Stolt to Jova. There is space out wide to work with here. Players in the box to aim for. And unfortunately, Almudena Sierra not really making the most of the situation. Nico Arnautz's side have firmly lived up to their status as favourites before this game. Back-to-back wins for the first time this season. First points, first win on foreign soil. Reason heavy touch lets her down. Now Liège Brancow, nothing lost, nothing gained in a game like this. They still have a breathing room. Was that the yellow card? Dropped by Fabienne Michel, the referee, returned by Elida Achigers. Fun moment there on the football pitch. But for Hamburg, yeah, nothing gained, nothing lost. There were positives, but no points. Because for the first time this season, Eintracht Frankfurt have picked up points on foreign soil to deny Hamburg a first win on home soil of the season. In the end, it looked convincing on the scoreline. It wasn't quite out on the pitch, but Frankfurt get the job done to make it back-to-back wins for the first time this campaign, closing the gap on the top three, courtesy of a 4-0 win at the Volksparkstadion. Well, another one of those afternoons for Hamburg where they are just learning the tough lessons of life in the Frauen-Bundesliga upon their return following 13 years. Sometimes you can play beyond your limits, sometimes you can put in a very positive performance and ultimately end up empty-handed against a Frankfurt side that weren't at their best. But they found the goal-scoring touches, the clinical quality needed to get the result that they were looking for here. Nico Arnautis has been calling for consistency. They pick up back-to-back wins either side of the international break. Nils Brandkauer has a chat with the referee Fabiana Michel to maybe point to some injustices, but truth be told, those injustices probably didn't really dictate the state of play. They were only 1-0 down at half-time. Larissa Heidner will not want to watch the fourth goal conceded back. It was a ghastly mistake on Halloween weekend, but she is a young keeper. Those moments are going to happen. She gets the pep talk from her goalkeeping coach, and rightly so, because at 4-0, that wasn't the biggest blemish on tonight, this goal conceded by Heidner. The damage had already been done. The game had already been won. Not a pleasant moment, but it wasn't a decisive one, if that's of any relief. Laura Freigang, she got her first goal of the Frauen-Bundesliga season. There would have been a mighty amount of relief mixed in with her post-goal emotions. For Nico Arnautis, this is what was a routine win on paper, as his side maintained their status as favourites to take all 3 points. But they didn't have life easy here at the Volksparkstadion. They had to dig deep, and while it looked convincing on the scoreline in the end, it really was anything but out on the pitch. James Surrogate, match commentator, thanks for joining. This is day 3 of 11 straight with Frauen-Bundesliga action, so don't go anywhere. Tomorrow it's Freiburg against Leipzig to close out Matchday 8, and then a set of midweek fixtures to savour. Thanks for joining. Final score at the Volksparkstadion: Hamburg 0, Frankfurt 4.
Und schauen Sie mal, wie die da in der Luft...